Hello, Dennis Reddy here, longtime Rams fan of 50 years, but tonight I'm here to talk about my dear departed friend, Glenn Killion. So, off with the Rams, on with the Chargers. Got some pictures and some memories to share. I'm not tech savvy like I know a lot of you are, but I think this is going to work. So, as you know, Glenn, his older brother Wayne, and his younger brother Kenny were born in San Diego, El Cajon. Her mom really loved them, sent them to private school. They grew up playing Pop Warner football down there. That's where he became a Chargers fan. But eventually, they loaded up the station wagon and moved to Chester, California. And they lived in a house in a part of town that later got the nickname Acid Alley. Not sure the story behind that one. When Glenn was in high school, as a sophomore, he was on the junior varsity team, but they bumped him up to varsity because he was so good. Here he is escorting the homecoming queen, Chester High School. Went to a lot of concerts with Glenn, including AC/DC. That's Glenn's fist in the right-hand corner. Come on now. He's the only person I know that left a concert with a drumstick thrown to the audience. Not once, but twice. How did he do it? I hope he's up there with Bon and Malcolm Young rocking out as we speak. A lot of camping trips, backpacking trips together. Myself, Glenn, Wayne, our friend John Herr. We were going to hike from the Red Bridge on Highway 32 at Deer Creek down that trail till the trail ended. Rock hop our way down to where we had the car parked at Lavina. But it had been raining a lot. And when we ran out of trail, the creek was way too high to keep going. So we hiked up the side and got to the road and made a camp called Camp Dick in the Dirt. Another camp called Cowpie Flats. It was a improvisational trip. Had a good time, even though it was very wet and rainy. Did another trip with our friend Mike McKee to Redwood National Park. There's Mike. Had to have the ranger give us a key to the gate to this dirt road. Got to the end of the road to get on the trailhead. That's a black and white of us next to one of the bigger redwoods in the Redwood National Park. That morning I put on some goofy morning clothes and Glenn had to out-goofy me. I'll let you guys decide who's goofier there. It says October 1990. Glenn had a good sense of humor. It's Glenda, I take it back, Glenda. Next one, sense of humor, parental advisory. There's children in the audience, get ready. Oh! What's that? Letting Jack have it. Glenn and his sense of humor. When I worked and lived near the south entrance to Yosemite National Park, these guys came to visit with Tom Burt, and we cross-country skied from where I worked about 2 miles south of the park, up to the Mariposa Grove of giant sequoias. I guess Tom took this one because he's not in it. I knew the park ranger who allowed us permission to camp there overnight. Normally that wouldn't be allowed. There's our camp. On the way up, Glenn was having problems with his equipment. Mainly his boots were soaked and his feet were wet. He was just miserable. He was ready to give up. He said, "Give me the keys, I'm going back." I said, "All right, let's try something here." I unzipped my jacket, lifted my shirt up. He took off his socks and shoes, put his freezing cold feet against my warm belly. I'd learned that somewhere. That's how to thaw out people's appendages. And it worked. He was able to finish the trip. We got up to camp, and he says, "Well, Dennis, you'll be happy to know we're not eating just dehydrated food. We packed in some hamburger today." "Yeah, all right, where is it?" He says, "Open your pack." I opened my pack. That son of a gun snuck 2 pounds of hamburger into my pack and made me carry it up. Had a great time though. Another trip in Yosemite. This one we started in Tuolumne Meadows, hiked down the Merced River, and found a spot for lunch where there were these rapids on some rocks, and got our sleeping pad and would slide down these rapids. Sometimes 3 of us at once on that pad. That's Glenn on it on that one. And then we hiked up from there to Cloud's Rest. As you can tell from the way we're dressed, much, much colder. And Glenn is completely covered. Our water froze overnight. Pat Baird, I think you were on this trip, and it was the time you had a friend recovering from an illness or injury or something, and he wanted you to bring him some kind of souvenir from the trip. And so when we got up there, Glenn knew about this. He found a little rock, put it on top of that boulder that we're standing on, and when you finally caught up, Glenn said, "Oh, this might be a good spot, Cloud's Rest, to bring back a souvenir." And Pat, you looked around and saw that little rock on top of the boulder and said, "Oh, this is perfect." Oh, couldn't have gone any better. Well, I don't know if you knew that you had Glenn to thank for that. This might be Mount Shasta, another one of Glenn not appreciating the cold. He's got a full face mask on this time. It was cold, Mount Shasta. That was the first part of Glenn's bachelor party, was climbing Mount Shasta. I guess the next day it warmed up. We're in shorts and t-shirts. Come on, focus. 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 Another time, Glenn got him to show his face when we climbed Mount Whitney. Glenn's been on top of the highest point in the continental United States, Mount Whitney in the Sierra Nevada mountains. Cold and beautiful. Back to the bachelor party after Mount Shasta. The second part of Glenn's bachelor party was canoeing down the Sacramento River. We started in Redding and canoed almost to Red Bluff. We spent the night at a place called Cottonwood Creek. Only girl in the group was the one we brought with us. Couldn't do without that. Kurt Gilson's in this picture too, off to the side. I guess I cropped him out because he was taking a toke off the bong. And back when I did this, well, it was different back then. But Kurt was there, Russ, you remember. He didn't stop leaving you alone. Other trips with Glenn, Tom Burt, John Herr, Mike Baird, myself, Wayne, Sierra Nevadas. Yeah, there's Half Dome. Typical spot people pose for a picture. We hiked the Tuolumne River from Tuolumne Meadows down the Tuolumne River to Pate Valley. Climbed out of Pate Valley and found the place to camp and got this really great view of the Tuolumne River feeding into Hetch Hetchy Reservoir. Jack, I guess you took this one since you're not in it. But what's cool, years later, Wayne and I went again with his boys, Kevin and Jordan, and found the same spot. Took the same picture about the same time of day. Boy, that Jordan sure is photogenic, huh? In the Killion blood to be photogenic. Oh, back in another picture, Glenn had a staff. Meant to point that out. There's Wayne with the staff. Now, I'm not going to tell the staff story, but someone asked Glenn, what's the best way to use that staff if you were to get into a fight? And it's a good story of how Glenn described what to do with the staff if you were in a confrontation with someone. Lots of big group parties. Dave Bauman, Terry Porteous, Brett House, there's Wayne and Amy and Kendra and Glenn and Russ. If you keep doing that, it's going to be permanent someday. And Kelly, and my girlfriend at the time, Debbie, and her son Jimmy, and there's Pat at the bottom with Brent, Bruno House, myself, and Mike and Suzanne, waiting for the arrival of baby Teresa. Wayne's bachelor party. Pat Baird and Glenn had arranged for private flights to go to Reno. We had 2 planes. I think there was like 15 of us or so, but the weather was bad. Couldn't fly to Reno, so Glenn went ahead and told Wayne what we had in mind, and Wayne picked out that we went to San Francisco because they were having a big celebration for the Golden Gate Bridge. And we stayed at the Crown Plaza, and I think it's pretty safe to say they were happy to see us finally leave because we were quite a group. We brought Gumby with us. Glenn's there in the corner. We got Gumby in the hot tub. We had Gumby at the bar. We had Gumby in the cab. We had Gumby on the airplane. And there's a picture online of Gumby on the Golden Gate Bridge, even though we didn't take it. Rob Herr, I hear, found that one. That's going to be a keeper. If I remember right, Glenn was Wayne's best man at his wedding, and I think the same went when Glenn got married. Cheers, everybody. Toast for Glenn. And Glenn's beautiful red-headed mother, Bev, her husband Hank. Miss you, Bev. Miss you, Glenn. I'll see you someday. And Wayne and Glenn with Bev's mom, Granny. She's a very nice lady. Passed that trait down to her daughter, Bev, who passed that down to her kids. Pat Baird's bachelor party. Went whitewater rafting on the Klamath River in Oregon. That's our big group. It was a lot of fun. And there's Glenn's raft with myself, Mike McKee, Pat, and his dad, Ernie. Ernie was there. And boy, there were some rapids. I'll tell you what. We survived it. Well, after Glenn was gone, Bev and Hank got this fir tree that we planted on their property up in Warner Valley. We dug a hole. Once we put in the root ball, got it all situated, everyone grabbed a handful of dirt to put in the hole symbolically to express our love for Glenn. And as far as I know, Glenn's tree, focus, is still there in Warner Valley. Matt and Heather, thank you for inviting me to this. I hope this helps you to get to know your dad a little better. Matt, if you ever have a child, a boy with red hair, you could probably recreate this photo because you look so much like your dad. About 10 years ago, I was at Wayne's house and the phone rang and I answered and it was you. And boy, I freaked out a little bit. I thought Glenn was calling from beyond. He sound the same too. I hope we get to stay in touch. I cherish this picture here of you guys. Thanks again. Love you. Love your dad. Bye now.